Mental health training started in the mid to late 90s.
Back then, officers had basically no training in how to deal with people with mental illness. But across the country, more and more law enforcement agencies were starting to have situations of shootings of people with mental illness. Most of the time, they did not have a weapon. Most of the time, there was no criminal activity, and yet they were being shot and sometimes killed by the police.
Mental health calls are very fluid, very complex and unpredictable, and have a high potential for violence. Traditional law enforcement didn't teach us how to de-escalate, how to talk to somebody opposed to at somebody. Training now really emphasizes on how to have that conversation. Training is the foundation of everything we do, and mental health training has evolved. Started as an 8-hour class and eventually evolved to what we have now, a 40-hour crisis intervention training.
The main thing is to keep the officer safe, keep the mental health consumer safe, and treat them as a person with an illness rather than a criminal.
Keep in mind the range of emotions that he's experiencing right now. A lot of people come into the class on day one hesitant. They don't necessarily want to be there. They've heard things or they assume things about what the training is about. And by day 5, when they're walking out, almost all of them, if not all of them, say, this is impactful. I've learned a lot from this. I wish I would have had this years ago.
We have doctors, we have professionals that this is their expertise, teaching these diagnoses to our law enforcement officers.
First off, we're going to be talking about the myths of addiction. Police officers are really the front line in providing those interventions. It's important that they really understand that this is a disease that should be treated like a medical issue.
The reality is, a lot of people that we come into contact with on a daily basis have mental health issues. But I think more importantly, a lot of law enforcement officers also deal with some of the same struggles that the members of the public deal with. And they realize that there's a name to what it is that they're feeling.
Their eyes open. I mean, it's like this huge light bulb goes off. That's, to me, when it has the most impact, because now they can see, man, this is really like personal. Those collaborations that started with CIT blossomed into all sorts of other things. Our jail diversion center was probably one of the first in the nation of its kind.
Instead of taking them to jail, it provides individuals with services, housing. It reduces the likelihood of responding to that individual over and over.
I'm very excited about our telehealth program. I really think that's the way of the future.
It equips deputies with iPads, and when they respond to a scene and need a mental health assessment, they can do FaceTime with a clinician. Project Guardian, individuals that live with somebody who has autism can register their loved one. We then send it to our dispatch, and if that deputy responds to that house, that deputy will have all that information about that individual with autism. In 10 years, we went from 3 crisis intervention response team members and 2 volunteers to a whole division of people. In 2021, we were awarded to become a Department of Justice learning site for mental health and law enforcement through the Council of State Governments. We are one of 14 agencies in the nation to be considered this.
We would get people from all across the country, both behavioral health and law enforcement, that would come in to look at our programs. And they would be amazed at the relationship between us and our local mental health authority and other mental health institutions. We were touring the Harris County Jail. There was a sergeant that was taking us through, and he told me that he had taken our CIT class at the Houston Police Department, and he said about 2 weeks later, he had a situation of a person with a knife. And he said, I truly believe I would have shot him if it wasn't for the training.
You will give dispatch as a backup unit to a local hotel.
I believe in my heart that the training has saved countless officer and civilian lives.
I hope that we continue this collaboration for years to come. We need our partners. We need the Menninger Clinic involved in our training because we can't do it alone.